Mark, we got a bunch of stories to cover here in this plus-sized issue. Why don't you give us a recap?
We open in Mozambique, and this is shockingly not a Nick Spencer Craven tease, and it does not appear that Hunted is on the horizon. Aw shucks. However, it is a flashback, and Kingpin and Tombstone are in a Jeep, and Tombstone is sure to remind Wilson that he does not take kindly to being called Alonzo while he's working. Kingpin asks him to observe a lion eating a cub and orates it about it being nature and how he would kill his own if it came to that, and that, folks, is setting up a pretty obvious Chekhovian gun. We flash over to the West Village, and the present-day Peter is hanging out with Randy Robertson. Remember him? He didn't die, and now he's back. Peter makes some uncomfortable jokes about Randy's rehab, but Randy lets him know that he's on the mend. After Peter leaves, Randy then reveals that he's still hanging out with Janice Lincoln, and that feels like another Chekhovian gun, folks. We get some Spidey swinging and inner monologuing, and Peter is thinking about loose ends vis-a-vis his recent showdown with the Green Goblin. That brings Spidey to crash in a deal with White Rabbit and Kareem, and he obnoxiously reminds everyone that they're on the same team, just to continue to sow his beef with Tombstone. Spidey is still pretty ticked off about Tombstone betraying him during gang war and taking control of the criminal underworld, so he's wondering if playing fun with his gang is really just leaving open another loose end. Meanwhile, Tombstone is notified that Spider-Man interfered again, and he has a plan that involves Peter Parker. Peter walks into the Daily Bugle thinking maybe Robbie is about to offer him a job, but instead he just wants to chat, mainly about the fact that he walked in on Randy hanging out with Janice the other day. So Spidey wants to resolve that loose end, so he swings over and confronts Janice. Flash over to Tombstone, Rabbit, and Kareem, and Tombstone is still conspiring to do something diabolical to Spider-Man. That brings us to Peter and Randy confronts Peter about Spider-Man kidnapping Janice. Tombstone's limo pulls up, and after threatening to punch Randy in the jaw, Peter gets into the car with Tombstone, not before he asks Randy to contact Spider-Man if things get dicey. Tombstone and Peter are staring icicles into each other before Tombstone announces his plan. He needs to kill Spider-Man in front of some made men tonight, and to do that, he needs to get him worked up enough to be off his game, and the way he's going to do that is by killing Peter. No hard feelings. Tombstone attacks Peter, who needs to balance taking a beating and not giving away that he's Spider-Man, but also not dying where he sits. Just as Tombstone looks to finish Peter off, he lets him know that the phone number on the card he gave Randy wasn't actually Spidey's number. It was for She-Hulk and Mayor Luke Cage, and now Tombstone is under arrest. The two of them get some hits in on Tombstone, which gives Peter time to get into Spidey attire. He gets a hit of his own before Tombstone is carted away by the police. That brings us to the courtroom. Tombstone pleads not guilty, and the prosecutor asks the judge for the state's witness to announce herself to the courtroom as part of the discovery process. A little unorthodox, Tombstone stares at Peter, but it's not him. Randy walks in, but it's not him either. And then Janice Lincoln walks in, and indeed, she has turned against Tombstone, and Tombstone gives her a look like a lion about to eat his own cub. In other backup stories, Rhino goes on a date, and Ned Leeds is found not guilty due to Betty Brant getting her hands on the Winkler device. Hey! This was actually a flashback story, and you can read more about it in the first story of this book. Then we get a story with MJ and Paul that I'm sure no one on the internet is losing their minds about. We get some more context about Paul's relationship with his genocidal father, and I bet that was an awkward Thanksgiving. We then get a cartoony short with Craven and a gallery of all of the ASM covers because, of course, it's an anniversary issue. And are those 5 Renew Your Vows issues out of sequence being listed after Superior but before Volume 3? Oh, Spider Office, never ever change.